Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack. We also have,
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
let's see. I don't know what's acting up. I don't need to see this. Um, there's some creators. I guess there's some little kind of a creator um, gag or something like that. These creators, Jerry Duggan and Chip Zdarsky, they paid Rob Liefeld on Cameo to teach Jonathan Hickman how to do plotting. When saying he's actually going to start drawing his own comic books. So our top salesperson is leaving his job to pursue his dream of writing and drawing his own comic books. And we know he loves you, the X-Men, Deadpool graphic designer. We won't show his comics, but we know it's dense and complex stories. Any tips? So they go to Rob Liefeld and they ask him to on Cameo. They pay him to do comic book storytelling, give him the basics. Now, I think obviously this was a gag. Do you feel that this is kind of a gag?
I think I can only take it that way, whether it's real or not. It's a gag.
But at the same time, we did get to pull back the curtain and see how Rob comes up with his stories, right? So, and his, the basic thing to get you through a 22 to 32 page story, right? This thing's
Mhm.
acting up right now. So let's look at what he said. Now, a lot of people reacting to this, but at the same time, Rob is pretty straight about it. So we're just going to listen to him talking comic book storytelling. And let's see. Computer is deciding it wants to do what it wants. Ready, set, and go.
Hey, John, it's Rob Liefeld, X-Force, Deadpool, Cable, Domino, all of it right here, my man, right here. And also right here in the palm of my hand. Look, dude, I understand that you are leaving your job to pursue your dream of writing and drawing your own comic book. That is super awesome. I commend you. Obviously, I've done very well in comics. I love comics. It's my passion. Here's the deal. Some tips, because I was just going over this with a friend today. There is a tried and true when you get down to doing a monthly comic. Stan Lee, Jim Shooter, one of the best editor-in-chiefs Marvel ever had. 787. What does that mean? Open your comics with 7 pages of your character using their power, introducing themselves to the reader, doing their cool whatever it is that they do. Then the middle 8 pages is where they go home. They have their school life, their work life, they're getting screwed over, whatever subplots, character in action, the girlfriend, the wife. That's your middle 8. Then your last 7, 787. That's a 22-page comic. That's the comics I grew up on. Those are the comics I made. The last 7 pages is the conflict. There's action, more using of the powers, and the villain making his move, and you end on a cliffhanger so that they come back next month. That is my tip to you, my friend. 787. Open with 7, showing the action. 8, do your character stuff. 7 pages of ending the action with the big cliffhanger. That's how I did it. That's what worked for me. Maybe show your coworker your comics when you're a little more, feeling good about it. But anyway, Rob Liefeld, wishing you the best. Good luck to you, Big John, your work pals. Love you like you have no idea. Take care.
Now, the thing that always was strange to me, because I think I forgot it when I first watched this, is that yeah, is Rob going totally straight here, or he doesn't know that they're talking about the X-Men Jonathan Hickman? Because he's pretty straight. There's no crack. There's no smile in it. He doing obviously someone sends you a cameo thing to talk about it. He goes through it as is, but it does give us a kind of a look into his kind of storytelling. And what do you think about that aspect of it? The
Well,
787.
that's standard storytelling. That's what you're supposed to do. So it sounds like sound advice. Um, I think it's hard because I'm trying to do this without taking any what I without like taking a poke at
Yes.
Liefeld for
Yes.
fun. But that's standard storytelling. That's what you're supposed to do. Especially with the new, well, with an established character, you might have a little leeway in certain things that you can do and get done. But with a new character, that's definitely what you want to do. You want to show what the character is all about, and then, well, at least in the days when you had a secret identity, You want to show what this character is like outside, outside of doing, the power bit and everything of that nature. But this isn't even something. I mean, this is something that they mandated with Superman stories, where they said that, look, you have to feature a certain amount of Clark Kent within this book, because they noticed that a lot of the writers were just like, okay, we're just going to do this. And like, no, you've got to feature this guy. So, this is that's standard stuff. That's standard stuff for a story.
I think what was it? Because they put it up on the Burn site, and he was talking about it and saying that sometimes, and this is the thing, because I can see that type of storytelling rouse things, but he's saying him and Chris Claremont, they notice how if there's any kind of formula that the kids can find, they would write back in. So it was like it was a thing where issue one, first part, the heroes lose. They say, "Wow, the X-Men weren't that tough." The next issue, the villain said, "Wow, the what's the name isn't that tough," and they start to see kind of the formula. So that's the only thing that's the hardest part in it. Whereas the idea of showing the heroes' power early on, or when you first see them, that's something that's always good to do. Having all of your relaxed stuff, that's also good. But at the same time, you know, you can, it's a hard and fast rule. It's not, you don't have to always follow it. And the other thing to remind you is the kids kind of can see that, because I could see, I think in X-Force #1, I can definitely see, because it used the whole Perez open, then it had some low-key stuff, and then it had a shocker at the end of Cable realizing that he has this telekinetic powers type of deal. And then the same with, what's that thing? Did what's he get killed in that one? I'm not sure. No, it's a later one. But then the same with the issue 2, where you had the fight between Weapon X and Deadpool, and I can't remember what else happens in X-Force 2, but you can see that formula in there, and whatever gets you to getting through your monthly comic books is always a help. So it's interesting that, obviously you got the Richard Johnston, who is obviously the man who is out there to take the piss out of the comic books, except for the books and the creators that he likes. So having that on there, that the whole aspect of it is a gag. But the fact that Liefeld did it as straight as possible, gave you some pretty much sound advice. Obviously, it's not hard and fast. People don't always follow it exactly like that. But it definitely, as you get into your storytelling, that's something that can help you to say, how do I plot out this thing? Because it'd be like, I think the first couple of ones that, the first one was the hardest when I was trying to plot with a friend of mine. And it was very hard to do initially, but then as you go along, it kind of gets easier. But then keeping that sort of in mind is saying, what do I need to do? I need to show the characters using their powers at some point. I need to show their regular life. And I need to show something big to get them at the end. Now, Jim Shooter was against the, big cliffhanger at the end. Like the villain, the thing that I think is going for, like, they got an X-Men page of Magneto by Byrne, where at the end, Magneto has a big reveal, and people are going crazy on that online, how great the page is. But Jim Shooter was totally against those pages. He was like, that's an ad for the next issue. And they're like, isn't that a good thing? And he was like, so, and there was a few times where it led to the next issue selling more. I think the Terminus issue of the Fantastic Four, the first part ended with a big splash page, and the second one was a big seller for Byrne. I mean, it was already a big seller, but that one was even bigger. So it's a couple of different things of thought. But, this is kind of thing that we don't always get, because sometimes it's hard for the creators to kind of, they just do it. They know, they hit their marks on the page and their layouts and their breakdowns and type of thing, and try to keep themselves energized by doing different things, to not run out of steam on doing monthly comics. I only say that because I listened to John Romita Jr. talking about doing comic books and saying how much fun it was to do breakdowns, which is very loose type of things, and he likes doing storytelling breakdowns. And he said, for this story, I'm going to do a whole bunch more. I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to do tighten it later. So, Any other thoughts on this?
No, standard. This type of storytelling is standard. If are you familiar with Alexander Dumas, author of the Three Musketeers?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because
Yeah,
you talked about it
this
many
is what
times.
he
Yeah.
yeah, this is what he said about storytelling. Back in the 1800s, they would ask him, "Look, what do you do to do a story?" He said, "Begin with action." That's exactly what they're telling him, right? That's exactly what Liefeld is telling him here. So, uh, it's and again, I'm trying not to. It's hard, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to just take the low hanging fruit and just do some Liefeld barbs, if you will. But that's standard storytelling for somebody who's either new or beginning with the new character. So yeah, it's
So
sound advice.
we're skating on it. The hard part is that Jonathan Hickman is not a newbie. He's not gonna start drawing his own comic books. But I do commend, you get a cameo, you do the cameo. You give advice. Maybe you didn't get the portion of it was a gag, but at the same time, you win going straight forward, doing the thing that you do, and then people who sit around there doing the joke are like, "Oh, we got him." It's like, "Nah, actually, you paid him, and he did his job." So it's like you don't get to. I mean, Richard Johnson obviously gets to throw egg on somebody's face, but it's, you know,
Oh, that's just him.
yeah, yeah. So anyway,
This Rich Johnson is the guy who likes to this. I don't know. I don't know what the uh point of Bleeding Cool is some days when he's like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna spoil this story idea that I know I shouldn't, and he'll come out and do something of that nature. Or he perplexes me sometimes because he should know better, and he still makes like these amateur mistakes where he's just being a troll. But that's
yeah,
just him.
no, that's is definitely true. I mean, he's one of the guys that when I think I was talking to you about like celebrating comic book companies going down. Like he's the guy who's like, hey, what's that thing? Cross gen. Devils do going down. Like they're running. Oh, IDW. They're in the red. They're completely in the red. It's like, and I think I was buying a lot of IDW stuff at that time, so it's kind of tough to hear that these companies that are putting. And I'm not gonna no. CrossGen was definitely trying to do something, so it's not me. There's nothing bad about looking at them and saying they were trying to do something, and people like their books. That it didn't wasn't self-sustaining. Devils do. I mean, the thing is, we have. I don't know if it's under the what's it, Kirkman's umbrella, but he's doing well with the GI Joe stuff now, selling. Well, I think yes. I guess yeah. I guess IDW had it, probably selling way more than IDW is, and got a lot of creators into it. So, um, but Rich Johnson is the person that would call, put that thing out and saying your book is failing. It's going to be canceling some of, X amount of issues, and go on your own site and say it to people. Say, no, I got the facts. I got the facts. It's like it hasn't even been announced yet. No, this book is going to be canceled and issue that. Oh, they tried to trick you. I said 18, they did 17. Like, he celebrates too much of the negative when he was doing Lion in the Gutter. And it seems like he enjoys this stuff. So he got the word out that no one would have
He's
figured out.
also
Huh?
he's also pitching it to an audience that enjoys this sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know why there is, but there is an aspect, and it's not just comic readers, but I think it's most people, where for whatever reason they're dissatisfied with something. They want the whole thing to be destroyed, just tear the whole thing down, and there's nothing to replace it. They just like it's almost like this anarchist element where we're just gonna just destroy everything at the end of the day, and let's see what happens. And that's no good because you're not going to be happy with it. But you do have this sliver, which will be perfectly fine with everything just like fading into an abyss because they're not happy with it. So Rich Johnson feeds the need for those type of people, whether he realizes it or not.
All right, so I guess some people have gotten some sort of thing out of this. Um, at the same time, we got to see behind the curtain on, a way to get through your monthly comic books. And I guess that's it. Spinner rack
Hey, well,
out.